3, 2, 1. And this is the Budget and Finance Committee. We got a lot going on tonight, but it shouldn't take us too long if we can kind of run through this. Welcome to everybody, all the heads of the departments, commissions, boards back there. We appreciate you all being here. We'll try to get you out here as quickly as possible. I've got to run through the consent calendar real quick, and then after that we'll get to the capital spending plan, and the budget documents that go with that are next up after that. So let me run through these real quick, and then we'll get to it. RS 2023-1951, Sledge, O'Connell, Parker, and others. Pardon me, that is not on consent. Item number 2 on your calendar, RS 2023-1977, Roten Welsh Swara approves community-based treatment services for offenders grant from the Tennessee Department of Correction to the state trial courts to divert eligible offenders from Tennessee prison system by providing community supervision and treatment services. 2023-1978, Roten and Gamble determines to issue general obligation. Sorry, we're moving on. That's not it. Number 7, 2023-1982, Roten and Swara approves the grant from the Tennessee Emergency Management Agency to the Metro Department of Finance to provide public assistance for damage caused by severe storms, tornadoes, and floods during March 25th to April 3rd, 2021. Item number 8 on the calendar, 2023-1983, Roten approves the terms of a cooperative purchasing master agreement for the purchase of emergency generators and electrical energy power generation equipment for the Department of General Services. 2023-1984, O'Connell, Roten, and Allen appropriates $1.2 million in community development block grant funds to assist with construction of Phase 2 of Cassie Gardner Senior Park, located at 1606 Jefferson Street in North Nashville. 2023-1985, Van Reese, Roten, and Allen authorizes the Metropolitan Development and Housing Agency to enter into a pilot agreement and accept payments in lieu of ad valorem taxes with respect to a multifamily housing project located at 301 Ben Allen Road, known as Ben Allen Ridge. 2023-1986, Roten and Hurt approves an application for a major cultural institution grant from the Tennessee Arts Commission to the Metro Arts Commission to provide general operating support. 2023-1987, Roten, Syracuse, Welsh, and others approves a grant contract between the Metro Board of Health and the Metro Mental Health Cooperative to provide expertise and staff in emergency behavioral health care to support the Nashville Fire Department co-response model, also known as Responders Engaged and Committed to Help. 2023-1989, Roten, Syracuse, Welsh, and Bradford approves a grant from the Marjorie A. Newhoff Private Foundation to the Metro Board of Health to provide funding for the care of shelter animals for Metro Animal Care and Control. 2023-1990, Roten, Syracuse, Welsh, and Swara approves Amendment 1 to a Community Health Workers for Public Health Response and Resilient Grant from the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention to the Metro Board of Health to address COVID-19 health disparities in the Nashville area. 2023-1991, Roten, Syracuse, and Welsh approves Amendment 3 to a grant contract between the Metro Board of Health and STARS Nashville to fund an epidemiologist position to study data regarding cigarette smoking, vaping, and e-cigarette use with the primary focus on children and young adults. 2023-1992, Roten, Syracuse, and Welsh approves Amendment 6 to a grant from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency to the Metro Board of Health for the ongoing collection data on ambient air concentrations for fine particulate matter in Nashville, Tennessee. 2023-1993, Roten authorizes the Metropolitan Department of Law to settle the property damage claim of Liberty Mutual as subrogee of Maya Davila against the Metropolitan government in amount of $18,473.98, and that said amount to be paid from the Self-Insured Liability Fund. 2023-1994, Roten in Syracuse approves an application for a Homeland Security grant from the Tennessee Emergency Management Agency to the Metro Office of Emergency Management. 2023-1995, Roten, Hurt, Welsh, and Swara approves a Child and Adult Care Fund Program grant application and accepting a CACFP grant from the Tennessee Department of Human Services to the Metro Parks and Recreation Department to provide nutritious meals and snacks for children attending after-school programs at 13 community centers. 2023-1996, Roten and Hurt approves a grant from the Tennessee Titans to the Metro Board of Parks and Recreation to launch the Titans NFL Flag League in spring 2023 with funding to be used for registration fees and scholarships. 2023-1997, Roten Syracuse approves a monetary donation from the Nashville Downtown Partnership to the Metro Nashville Police Department to assist with the purchase of a Polaris utility vehicle. 2023-1998, Roten Syracuse approves an intergovernmental agreement between the Metro Nashville Police Department and Tennessee State University for extra-duty police officers. 2023-2000, Johnson, Roten, Withers, and Pulley approves a project modification to an agreement between Metro government and the United States Department of Army to add a parcel related to the acquisition and removal of flood-prone properties in the 7 Mile Creek watershed. 2023-2001, Roten, Withers, Pulley, and Murphy approves an agreement between the United States Department of the Army and Metro Department of Water and Sewerage Services for the Richland Creek Flood Risk Management Project in Davidson County. 2023-2002, Roten, Withers, and Pulley authorizes the Metro Department of Water and Sewerage Services to enter into an agreement with Novo Antioch Owner, LLC, to fund the operation and maintenance of a force main with a public right-of-way for its development at 1421 Rural Hill Road. And that is everything on the resolutions, on the consent calendar for the resolutions. Can I get a motion? Motion properly seconded. All in favor? Any opposed? You approve the consent calendar. All right, now we're going to take up, oh, that was easy to say. Okay. Now we're going to take up the consent calendars number 3 on your item. Could I get a motion? Properly seconded. All right. So 2023-1970 is Roten and Gamble determines to issue general obligation bonds of the Metropolitan government in an aggregate principal amount of not to exceed $478,540,000. Our Director of Finance is here, Ms. Flannery, and she wanted to speak for a few minutes before we got to these items. So she is here in front of us, and let me make sure I get you on.
Hello.
All right. Try that again.
Hello.
You got her?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know that I wanted to speak as much as I thought maybe you wanted to hear me. But I will preface by saying I did write down remarks because I am...
Speak right into that. It's really hard.
Hello. Like Adele. But I do appreciate I can veer off course. So I did do written remarks, and I'm just going to read. And so hopefully that'll get us back on schedule timing-wise. But I'm going to keep my head down, so if you need me, throw something at me. So 4 things we're trying to cover today. I have a rating strategy update, 2023 kind of report card, an economic outlook, and then we'll walk through the 4 resolutions for consideration. First thing I'd like to announce today is some good news. Actually, I'm going to say this whole presentation is going to be good news, but today Metro was given a AA+ bond rating from Kroll Bond Rating Agency. It is 1 notch away from the highest achievable AAA rating. As you know, a rating reflects the independent opinion of a rating agency on the creditworthiness of the issuer to make timely payments of principal and interest on debt, and the ratings determine the cost of borrowing we pay on our bonds. Historically, many issuers have sought separate ratings from at least 2 credit rating agencies, and most major cities have at least 3. In addition, and many institutional investors require a minimum of 2 ratings. We decided to seek a 3rd rating, and the entire finance team has spent the last several weeks harvesting data and telling our story to Kroll, and they recognize Metro's strong financial condition and assigned a AA+ rating. The rating was assigned because of the following key credit considerations: Metro's broad and diverse economic base that features governmental, commercial, institutional, healthcare, and tourism-based activity; our well-maintained financial operations, strengthened through the recent operating surpluses and adoption of a more restrictive fund balance policy, and the adopted financial and debt policies that provide a framework for effective management. I should note one thing investors really like about the Kroll report is the rating report itself. While most reports are 2 or 3 pages, the Kroll report that we were provided this morning is 11 pages, and all of that analytical detail is in that report. And if this group is interested, I will share that report when I get back to my desk. I'd like to thank the mayor and council, and specifically this group, for the time that you spent developing the fund balance policies. And honestly, all of Team Metro for all the support we've gotten to this place. And this really is an amazing achievement. And I was saying to my team the other day, we don't get the luxury of other departments of getting to cut ribbons and go and unveil things. So this is our moment, and this is all we'll ever have. So thank you to all of finance. Yay. All right. I'm going to keep going with the good news. Here we go. At the time of the 2023 budget formulation, the economic outlook was very different. There were concerns over the contraction of the fiscal year forecasted to occur. Let's think about back where we were in June. Inflation was over 9%, which was well outside of the Fed's 2% target. CPI saw its largest gain since 1981, and supply chain issues were hindering our ability to get the materials we needed to operate. And as a result, we produced a structurally balanced budget that, while it included $320 million in new revenue from the prior year, it was still decidedly conservative in its revenue estimates. And 8 months later, there's still debate over whether the Fed responded quickly and decisively enough. What we do know is that nationally and locally, the economic output has continued to exceed previous expectations. And fortunately for Metro, this has also resulted in revenues that are exceeding budget and are forecasted to continue to do so, continuing through the fiscal year end. So I will say this is a first time for me that I've felt comfortable sharing year-to-date data, and I think that is really indicative of the fund balance policy. Now that we have that kind of safeguard in place, I think we can all be more transparent with each other and share kind of where we're at. So here's where we're at. Fiscal year to date, most major revenue sources are exceeding budget estimates. Specifically in the 5 months of revenue collections, we're seeing revenues well in excess of budget estimates, primarily in the local option sales tax, but also in the hotel occupancy, business, and alcohol beverage taxes. These revenues have benefited from employment that has remained strong, matched with elevated wage growth, consumers sitting on savings, and of course, elevated inflation, which is driving tax collection. The increase in these revenues have afforded us the opportunity to pursue the supplemental budget resolution that we will discuss shortly. Is this working? I feel like it's going in and out. It's working. Okay. Might be screaming, but okay. All right. And while I was just finished telling you about the robust revenue collections we're experiencing, we also need to consider the economic outlook as we contemplate the capital spending plan and fiscal year 2024 budget. When we take this forward-looking approach, it becomes clear that the economic future is still very much uncertain and that we need to remain restrained. Nashvillians are finally beginning to feel relief after months of rapidly rising prices on basics such as food, fuel, and rent. The CPI measures the change in prices paid by consumers for goods and services. You can see in the graph on the left that CPI has declined. Average gasoline prices, which peaked at $5 a gallon nationally this summer, have retreated from record highs, thanks in part to the decline in global demand. Overall, inflation has fallen for 5 straight months and expects to continue to decrease through the remainder of 2023. The easing of inflation is just one part of the picture. In its effort to combat skyrocketing prices, the Fed has raised interest rates 7 times in the past year. Although the central bank controls just one interest rate, the federal funds rate, which banks use to lend money to each other, the actions have taken have had immediate impact on all types of lending, including mortgages, car loans, credit card rates, and Metro's borrowing rate, all of which are getting costlier. So what is next for the economy? I think this chart best tells you that economists aren't sure. There's no question that we're going to be in for a cool down. It's just unclear how rapidly or dramatically that might happen. The current forecasts vary considerably. Through several U.S. major banks say it's still possible, if not expected, that the U.S. economy will contract at some point this year. And it should be noted that this was assembled before Friday's super positive jobs report, so we are still very much in flux. As we contemplate the FY24 budget, we will continue to monitor inflation levels and interest rates. It's worth noting that while growth is still positive, we have started to see a slowdown in the pace of that growth. With only 5 months of collections available to us at this point in the year, we'll be monitoring economic conditions and collections as we continue to prepare FY24's forecasts. Equally as important to the revenue estimates, we will continue to monitor inflation and interest rate impacts on expenses, as well as COLA and contractual requirements. The two things I would ask you to take away from this update today is, for fiscal year 2023, we're exceeding revenue projections, which is presenting us a unique opportunity to pursue a one-time capital supplemental budget. And two, for the fiscal year FY24 budget, and as you're contemplating the capital spending resolution, there continues to be a lot of economic uncertainty, and we need to remain restrained. So let's get into it. So the first thing we're contemplating, as I mentioned, is the supplemental budget appropriation. It's $88.9 million, and it's comprised of two different pieces. First, there's $3.2 million, and that is using existing Department of Transportation surplus parking fund revenue. These monies are required to be spent on parking-related initiatives and will be used to modernize the parking meter infrastructure. Director Alacron is here and can speak more to that if there's questions later. Second, $85.7 million in general fund revenue, primarily related to the sales tax revenue far exceeding expectations, has created an opportunity to cash or pay-go fund one-time capital projects. The projects included in the supplemental are not operating costs. Every dollar is earmarked for capital projects, and many of the projects are those that have typically been debt funded but are not ideal candidates for long-term financing. Things like radios, generators, IT systems, tree removals are not the ideal long-term assets that should be funded with long-term debt. When we have discussed strengthening Metro's financial condition, we have talked about the steps in that process, and that began with the modernization of the fund balance policies and related fund balances, and we plan on sharing the budget planning tool later this spring. The next step would be the capital financing strategy and would include evaluating existing key debt ratios and the multi-year long-term capital planning approach, and creating a model that contemplates affordability under different scenarios. Government capital spending best practice often includes both a pay-as-you-go and debt financing components. So I look at this supplemental as a first step in working towards that capital planning strategy. If you were to consider the supplemental and the CSP total of $564 million, 15% will be funded with cash on hand. This is a great practice for Metro to start. Beyond just being prudent financial strategy, cash funding this portion of the capital rather than bond funding will save an estimated $37 million in interest costs. On this slide, you'll see the allocation of expenditures. Several of the department directors are here to discuss the projects in greater detail, but just a few highlights. More than a quarter of the funding, $22 million, will go to fleet purchases. This will allow us to catch up on the backlog after several years of deferred purchases. There's $4.5 million for tennis and basketball court repairs, $1.65 million for playgrounds, $5 million for EAB tree removal, and several information technology initiatives. On to the capital spending plan. Just a reminder of how the CSP works with the annual budget. Projects approved by the CSP become eligible for short-term funding through Bond Anticipation Commercial Paper Program. Typically, once the commercial paper funds have been fully expended, Metro will restructure the debt from short-term notes to long-term 20-year bonds. The CSP projects will likely be included in multiple bond issuance depending on project spending and timing. The annual debt service as a percentage of general fund expenses for the current fiscal year is expected to be 13.7%. At $478.5 million, the fiscal year 2023 CSP is aggressive, and at 14.34%, it is expected to exceed the 14% benchmark this body has historically used as a guide. I mentioned we continue to be in an uncertain economic condition. However, with the current fund balances and the policies we have enacted to ensure maintenance of those funds, I'm comfortable we can take on the additional risk to support any volatility, but nothing additional. The CSP resolution is $478.5 million, and some highlights include almost $140 million to MNPS, or almost 30% of the total allocation, and $92 million to the construction of the Juvenile Justice Center. The CSP implemented a process improvement that utilized geospatial analysis to plot proposed projects on a map and then apply an equity layer to assess the equitable deployment of capital throughout the county. Representatives are also here from the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion team that are available to discuss that process. So in summary, we have 4 things for consideration. In addition to the supplemental and the CSP highlighted, there's also a $16.8 million resolution for the General Fund Reserve Fund, also known as the 4% fund, which is actually closer to 4.5% of the FY23 budget. Highlights in this resolution include $2 million for the Sheriff's Office building repairs and equipment, $3 million for emergency communications equipment, $4.9 million for IT equipment, and $1.5 million for libraries. We will expect to bring another 4% resolution later this year. And finally, there's a resolution reducing already approved general obligation bonds by $2.4 million due to projects being completed at a cost less than originally estimated. As per rule, the CSP must be deferred for 1 meeting. We would be supportive of a recommendation for a 1-meeting deferral for all 4 of these resolutions so they can all run in concert with each other. Again, in summary, I hope you take away 2 things. 1, fiscal year 2023 has been treating us well. We have a unique opportunity before us. Due to our conservative budgeting and greater than expected economic recovery, we can cash fund a portion of our capital needs. But also, 2, the very near future and economic picture is still very unclear, and we need to remain vigilant in our fiscal restraint and stay the course of strengthening Metro's financial condition. To be more definitive, I will not be supportive of any request to upsize any component of this plan. Questions? For the record, I bracketed that. I wasn't sure I was going to say it, but I was feeling myself. I went for it.
Councilmember Druffel, so we're gonna kind of get to the bill and then start letting everybody ask questions. The first bill is the capital spending plan, and then we'll have the supplemental, and then we'll have the 4%. So we can kind of go like that. She's here to answer questions. Everyone from all the departments are here. So as we start going through, obviously we're on capital spending plan, and you're the first one with a hand up. So I'll go ahead and recognize Councilmember Druffel.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Just to verify, we're at 13.7% of our operating expenses based on capital payback, and we're going to go to 14.3%. Is that correct?
That's the assumption, correct.
Okay. Is that with the supplemental capital?
So the supplemental will be cash funded, so there's no impact on the debt ratios.
Okay. Okay. I'll ask the other questions later. Thanks.
Councilmember Mendez, we have an amendment, and I think get a motion. Moved, properly seconded. The amendments for the body. Councilmember Mendez, you're recognized.
Thanks. I think it's technically a substitute because it changes language in the actual resolution also. And I'm just going to discuss it briefly, but I'm not going to seek it to be moved tomorrow, and we don't have to vote on it today. It's one of these things I wanted to get out for consideration so people have time to think about it. So I'll describe what the substitute does and then tell you why. So it would move to delete $5 million for East Bank planning from the capital spending plan. And the reason is because it's premature until we get the stadium approved. So far, in previous capital spending plans, we've already approved $25 million worth of expenses for planning for the East Bank. And this all fits under the category of like the most significant push from the administration for the last, since May at least, is that the stadium deal is free to the general taxpayer. That's the phrase. I've heard it as recently as last Friday from the mayor. And the capital spending plan is the time to explore whether that free to the general taxpayer is remotely accurate. We've already previously approved $25 million worth of expenses for the East Bank planning in previous capital spending plans. And depending on whether you consider the getting the Juvenile Justice Center out of the area part of the East Bank, that's another $125 million that would be approved. There's been 30 previously, 92 more in this one. And the capital spending, or the capital improvements budget, has another approximately $730 million worth of projects for the East Bank. And so in total, without the Juvenile Justice Center, between what's been approved and what's in the CIB, it's about $760 million worth of GO bond spending, and the Juvenile Justice Center would add another $230 million in total between what's already been approved, what's in this one, what's still in the CIB. And I would remind everybody that every single rendering that exists for the East Bank shows that PSC Metals is a street grid with streets and buildings. And so anybody who's thinking about the transit connector spine that the administration talks about, like every rendering of that goes through the middle of PSC Metals. And we're going to spend GO bond spending on that. So between what's been approved, what's in this one, what's in the CIB, and PSC Metals, it'll get over $1 billion worth of GO bond spending. And I think that people should take that in consideration when thinking about the CSP. And my suggestion would be that the $5 million that's in this CIB for property acquisition, environmental remediation, new utilities, utility relocation, transit hub, and parking, it's premature until we get the stadium improved. And I think it should be deleted from the CSP. But again, I won't move that until we get to the next meeting.
Okay, so without objection, the four bills dealing with the CSP and the 4% and the supplemental are all going to be deferred tonight. And since he is not wanting to move it tonight, without objection, we just won't take that up tonight, and we can move in further with the CSP. If you have any questions, we can talk about that the next time when we come back. So anybody else have any questions? Ms. Flannery, people with the department about the capital spending plan, that's why we are here. So Councilmember Benedict, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Director Flannery, you mentioned the presentation had $37.7 million in interest savings as the result of not having, I'm guessing, to issue commercial paper. Is that what that is? And could you speak to how much we do that annually, and does the fund balance have to do with, can you walk me through that savings, how we got there, and how we can make that improvement in the future, and what do you think we could save in the future under different circumstances?
Sure. So the 85.7 that's contemplated is primarily sales tax revenue, if I'm being honest. It's a little bit of alcohol and beverage, but predominantly it'll be the sales tax revenue in excess of what we anticipate in our budget. So it is going to be cash that we collect in excess of what we budgeted for. And it would be inappropriate to put those dollars into operating costs because they're not going to be sustainable. They're one-time surplus. So applying the same methodology that we put in the fund balance policy, where either need to go to 4% or capital, we applied those same rules to this pot. And so this would be cash funding projects that typically would have been funded by debt. So the 85.7 would have cost us whatever 85.7 plus 37.7 is 125 million-ish. So it's just savings by not financing it over the 20 years that we typically fund a bond over.
Thank you. I just would add, Chair, excellent investment in our Juvenile Justice Center. I'm appreciative of that. I know Judge Callaway is here, but excellent and excited for her.
She's doing this if y'all didn't look back there. So, Councilmember Parker, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair, for recognizing me. I'm not a member of this committee. I had a question about, is it appropriate to ask a question about, what's in this to a department at this time? Okay,
Whatever you want to ask about the capital spending plan, that's why we're here.
Thank you. So for solid waste folks, I know I saw John Honeysucker back there, and anybody else who can answer this. In these four resolutions, I saw something for trash collection vehicles. I wondered what is in here for solid waste, for trash collection equipment, and does it include an additional front loader for the dumpster pickups?
Mr. Honeysucker, you're recognized.
Well, good afternoon. John Honeysucker, Assistant Director, Waste Services. Our finance, well, she's here actually, so let me let Amanda Moore, our finance person.
Specifically in the CSP is the vehicles, and we would expect that part of the general services includes that.
Okay, thank you. Is that, so it's not maybe spelled out like what the breakdown is?
No.
Okay, thank you. I guess I would be curious to see if we can, like a projection from, I guess that would be general services or what, if possible, before the next meeting.
Okay. Ms. Flannery, do you understand that?
Services to maybe opine on the $22 million fleet number and what that, but we can get you that detail for next time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Parker. Councilmember Druffel, you're recognized.
Yeah, you said there is an overlay by district of some of the expenditures. Is there something that we're going to be able to see that as you appropriate parks and sidewalks, et cetera, that we'll be able to see where that's allocated by district?
Sure. Normally there's only like 4 or 5, so it's really easy to find people, but Dr. Patel, are you with us this evening? I think I see your arm. Can you speak to the equity mapping tool and what sort of documents would be publicly available for that? She's in the back row.
Dr. Patel? Dr. Patel, you are called emergency room.
Emergency room now.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. Hi, Dr. Patel, you're recognized.
So the question was whether or not you'll be able to see the allocation of different capital spending projects by district on a district map.
That's correct.
So when we created the equity index to be able to look at sort of the impact of the potential infrastructures, we placed it on the collaboration of planning and with ITS so that you could see the capital projects not only by district, but also how they apply to the social vulnerability index. That is available, I know, so far to a set number of people within Metro, but I'm not sure. Someone from ITS can maybe answer whether or not it'd be available to all of you. I heard a yes.
Okay, so we'll be able to see this before we approve this so that we can see it, the equity. Okay.
I heard a yes too. So
Okay.
I heard it all the way up
Looking
here.
forward to it.
So
Thank you.
It was all the way from the back. There you go. So, yeah, the director, he said it, so we will hold it to him. All right. Councilmember Sepulveda, you are recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to follow up on that and see when we could expect that.
Well, as chair of this committee, I would hope we could get it by the next meeting, so we can actually, a day or two in advance, we can at least look at it, and if we have any questions in 2 weeks, then we can ask those then. So hopefully, can I get a nod in the back? I'm not getting a nod in the back, but that's okay. It's my understanding they're going to follow up, so we'll do our best here. So, any other council members have any questions? I have one. Councilmember Benedict, you're recognized.
Thank you. My questions are for Director Alarcon. In regards to the NDOT, I think I saw you. I know you might want to hide now.
She's like,
No, she's always fantastic to answer my questions.
You're recognized, Ann.
Thank you. So my questions are, it looks like we've got 78 million or 79 million going to NDOT. 38 million of that is for state of good repair. So we, as a taxpayer, I guess what taxpayers should expect is that where things just need to be put. Can you explain what state of good repair means? Chair, I think her mic isn't on.
It is on. You just got to get. Oh, sorry. I pushed the wrong one. No, it wasn't on. My
I
apologies.
can yell. No.
Yeah, there you go.
So state of repair, of good repair is where we focus in on improvements in our maintenance. So for example, it goes toward our pavement resurface program. It also goes toward our guardrail replacement program, our repair program as well. This also is for our bridge and culverts, so replacement and repairs of our bridge and culverts. Also improvement to pavement marking, so this is dollars go into crosswalk, to stop bars, to just overall pavement marking that we need to do on the roadway. Sidewalk, also street light maintenance, so we're responsible if a street light's going in or one's knocked down, we're actually responsible for the footers and the concrete bases, and we also do the conduits and the splicing. So we get that set up, and then NES comes in and actually installs them and charges them. And then also this is adding for us to continue to operate with the additional right-of-way CEI inspectors that we have brought on board so that we can handle the amount of development that we have in the community. So that's what's all fallen in under the state of good repair.
Thank you for that. And I see Vision Zero is in here for, and I know it's traffic calming. Well, I had a couple questions. One, how many traffic calming applications are in the queue currently?
I don't know the approximate number, but I can get it for you, but I know it's over 400.
That's what I thought. And they average around, again, I've got one street that's got 3 speed humps coming on it. I've got another that's got, I think, 12 speed humps coming on it.
It varies.
On average, 50,000 is kind of the number that we use. Is that fair?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then if we wanted to be a true Vision Zero, if we could get there not by 2050, but if we could get there in, let's call it 5 years, how much would we need to spend in this capital spending plan to do that?
So last year, we actually had roughly 21 million. With the implementation plan, we actually did it based on 25 million a year.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And then last one, how many sidewalks will we get for $14 million?
I don't have that linear foot.
Tiny.
I can
Yeah.
figure it out for you. I apologize.
Small amount though, right? Very
Yes, ma'am.
small. Okay.
Yes, because just an FYI, as we are continuing to push forward, we're doing sidewalks where there's already curbs, so we're able to just do a quick, development and build. But as we dive into this and we're getting into really filling gaps, we're going to have to start pulling in and doing stormwater improvements with it, which is going to get us less, but get us further on that with our stormwater systems. So we're finding that a lot of the sidewalks, we're going back in now and starting to do stormwater designs with the sidewalks.
Thank you.
So you won't get as much, but you'll get it, and you'll get a better product.
Thank you for that. And I put you on the spot with all these questions because, in my opinion, yours is one department, if not the most department, that we ramp up more funding for most quickly. So I ask these questions to just show what a lack of investment we're making for something that every Nashvilleian uses every single day. So whether we're walking, whether we're biking, whether we're in our cars on our interstates, NDOT has a role in all of that, and we need to make sure that you're getting all the resources you need to run a successful department and keep Nashvilleians safe. Well, there was one other, editorial there I was going to put in, and I'm blanking on it right now. But I know, curb and guttering. As the person who chaired the special committee on sidewalks almost 4 years ago now, I think that's the one thing that we looked at was curbing, to put curbs in throughout District 7, for instance, where we have only, in North Englewood in particular, almost exclusively drainage ditches and no curbs. People who need to think about, or people who may not know what curb and guttering is, it's when it helps divert the stormwater to the river. It helps make sure that pedestrians on a sidewalk are safe, that a car can't, a curb is there so cars don't roll up on it. Mm-hmm. And so for us to do that throughout the city, that is the number one piece of cost in building sidewalks throughout the city. And I was in Palm Springs maybe in the past years at some point, and what a wide street city that is, car-centric city, but it is planned, and almost every street that I was on, if not every street in their city, had curb and gutter. And so it was much simpler to make pedestrian and bike infrastructure upgrades as a result of that infrastructure that was there already. So for us to get to a place, we talk about how inexpensive it should be, how easy it should be to build a sidewalk, but you have been given a large charge in order to get curb and gutter throughout the city so that then we can get sidewalks put in place. So thank you. And my goal and my challenge for this administration and for my colleagues here is to make sure that we are funding NDOT even more, substantially more than what's in this budget today. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Mendez, you recognize.
This is going to be a request for information between now and the next meeting. Just in talking to a couple of members, it occurred, It's been a while since we've seen the details about the Juvenile Justice Center. Just to,
Since you brought that up, that was going to be my question. Since we have Judge Callaway and Magistrate Wade in the room, would you like to step up so we can just ask you a couple questions, kind of where we are, where we're going, and where you see us being a year or two from now, and how much more money we're going to have to spend? Here comes the whole team.
while they're doing that, I'll round out my question.
Okay.
It's great to see Judge Callaway and the whole team. So I know back when we were approving the original 1.2 million 2 CSPs ago and the 30 million 1 CSP ago, there was a whole bunch of written details about what's going in the facility. And I think that's been a little bit lost to time. And as we're making the jump on a total of a $230 million project from having committed 30 already to committing another 92, if we could have recirculated that package of stuff to let us know what's in the facility, that would be great. But I do appreciate the opportunity to just get a quick update about, the 100,000-foot view of what's in it and what the status is.
Yeah, and Mr. Matthews is back there too, Clerk Matthews. So everybody was giving me a nod back there, so I assume they're going to be able to get us that information. So Judge Callaway, you are recognized.
Absolutely, and Mike Leonard is here with us as well from General Services, and he can give you more of the numbers and the figures. We are currently using the 30 million that was given us very well. We are in the design and architect stage. We've been working with DLR Group to do the design and architect, and CPS Group to do some other stuff. Cost analysis, thank you. I don't know why they're standing so far away from it. They know the answer and I don't. For me, the bottom line is we are looking forward to hopefully being ready and able to move in 2026 with a brand new Nashville Youth Campus for Empowerment. And that is going to be the first trauma-friendly, family-friendly empowerment center for not just our youth and the children that we serve, but the entire family structure. As most of you already know, 2/3 of the business that we handle in juvenile court deal with family and family relations. And so there will be a significant portion of the campus that will be devoted to the family and family issues. The other third of the cases that we deal with the youth and the young offenders, and we will have separate spaces for them. So if you can imagine a college campus, that's what you'll have. It'll be the most beautiful, trauma-informed college campus that you ever seen for the work that we do in juvenile justice. It will include the traditional courthouse, that we will have courthouses in the courtrooms. In that part of this building as well, there will be plenty of space for our partners, such as the district attorney, child support services, the public defenders, CASA, court-appointed special advocates. All will have drop-down space offices so that when we are making referrals to different agencies, we don't lose clients. We don't have to tell them, go down the street, around the corner to Charlotte, and you'll find this center here. We can go, no, just go right here. In fact, we'll take you right here to this person, to this office, so that you can make sure that the services that you need are right there for you. We will have plenty of space for mediation rooms, so that we do have about 6 trained Rule 31 mediators. We also work with Nashville Conflict Resolution Center to do mediation for family issues. We will have plenty of space for mediations to occur on a regular basis. We'll have space for our victim services so that victims of crime that come will not have to be in the crowded hallways that you see us in now. They will have their own separate area so that they can wait for court proceedings, they can talk to attorneys, they can do whatever they need. We'll have place for our pet therapy, our dogs that we have that come through the center, so they'll have a place for that. All of that will be in the main courthouse. We'll also have a 24-hour assessment center. This is something that we've missed for many, many years. The ACA guidelines for juvenile detention facilities do not allow us to house, and the state statute do not allow us to house non-detainable children in detention facilities. Currently, we have absolutely no other option for that to happen. And so every year when we go through the ACA accreditation, we lose points because that's the only place that we have. And so what happens is if a child runs away from home at 2 o'clock in the morning and they come to the current juvenile detention facility, we hold them and immediately call the family to come pick them up. And the family, on a lot of times, are a little frustrated and are frustrated with the system because a child that just ran for some reason, we have to come and bring them back. As soon as they get back, they'll run again. And that's a gap that we've been missing. But with a 24-hour assessment center with people on staff to do assessment to figure out what is the risk, what are the needs of this family before having to send them back into the home, and to have service providers right there 24 hours, that will be a gap that we are able to fix. And we're excited about that. We'll also have a house. On the house, I don't know if Mike Linda's rolling his eyes or not, or he's smiling, but at the house, because I give all these kind of designs and they just look at me. But at the house, we will have an ability to have our Safe Babies Court, and that is the court facility for the 0 to 3, the families that have babies that are going into the court system based on neglect, dependency, and abuse. We will be able to do their services, their courtroom services. In that house, we'll also have space to have visitation, whether it's therapeutic or supervised visitation. We will also have a part of the house will be our Safe Exchange Center. And so what we do now, we have families that are unable to exchange their children on visitation days because of family violence or family volatile issues. We will have a Safe Exchange Center where one parent comes one way, the other parent goes the other way. They drop the child off in the middle, they never see each other, and they go about their business. That is so much better than what we do now, is where we say, will you all just exchange a child at the police station? I know Chief Drake will be happy that their officers no longer have to deal with the drama that comes to there, and that it's something that we can deal with, that we have the ability and the capability to deal with on our home. We will also continue to have our Metro Student Attendance Center, which will be part of the courthouse, but a separate way, so that we can continue to work our relationships with the school system to making sure that youth who are not going to school, truancy, or educational neglect, that we can deal with those issues in a non-punitive fashion, and to make sure that we are removing all the barriers that prevents them from going to school. And so what we have will be a absolute campus, the Nashville Youth Campus for Empowerment, that not only empowers our youth and our children, but empowers our families and helps us to do better services for them all. This will definitely improve community safety. It will close any of the gaps that we have, hopefully all of the gaps that we have. Oh, I did not mention the pretrial housing facility as well. We will have the pretrial housing facility for those youth who are, based on what we believe, need to be detained until they are adjudicated, whether they're adjudicated delinquent or they're moved to the adult system. We will house them. In that housing facility will be a rehabilitation type center where they will have a school instead of 2 little rooms where they try to do whatever they're doing now, but it'll actually have an actual building for them to do their schooling. It will have green space for them to do rehabilitation, recreation, and things that every child needs as they're growing. Instead of sitting in a box and growing more bitter and angry, they'll have an opportunity to work through recreation, rehabilitation tools, and it will have other things that we believe that are appropriate, such as a vocational type services, a safe serve, so we can have youth that may be there for a period of time get their safe serve license so that they can learn how to cook and be productive in the hospitality industry when they're released, or a barber shop and a manicure shop, things that they can do hands-on. And we've done a lot of work with Councilman Druffel on kind of imagining some of the things that our youth in detention can really do, and those things will be available for them at our nice.
Thank you, Judge Calloway.
And I don't know if you want to hear
if y'all
the
can't
number.
tell, she's excited.
Yeah, just a little.
She is excited. So I'm very happy for her and everybody down at the court. So she deserves be able to do some help. Councilmember Mendez, did you have any question? Now, general services, can y'all just get us the numbers, forward us to the council members so we know what's in that 92? That way we know what we're voting on. And Judge Callaway, thank you, and thank you to your team for everything y'all do. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Councilmember Porterfield, you're recognized.
Thank you for recognizing me, Chair. My question was actually for the Director of NDOT. I was trying to catch you before she had a seat. It was a request for information. If we could get a breakdown of how the investments for infrastructure, how those projects are going out by district, if we could get that before we vote, it'll be appreciated.
And
Yes, ma'am. We'll be glad to do that.
Thank you.
Anybody else with any questions on the capital spending plan? Like I said, we'll be back in 2 weeks. If you think of any questions between now and then, I'm sure we can have some folks here to answer them for you. So we're on item number 3 on your calendar, 1978. We already had a motion, and it's properly seconded. All in favor? I'm sorry, it's a motion to defer. I apologize. It's a motion to defer. I sit there and taking a vote on something that we just talked about deferring. All right, so this is a motion to defer. Can I get a motion? Properly seconded. All in favor? Any opposed? You defer 1 meeting. Item number 4 is the general obligation bond bill. 2023-1979, Roten Johnston Gamble reduces the authority of the Metropolitan government to issue general obligation bonds pursuant to certain initial resolutions previously adopted by the Metropolitan County Council. If anybody has any questions, I can get our wonderful director to explain what this bill is, or the directors. Any questions? It's moved for 1 meeting deferral. Properly seconded. All in favor? You defer 1 meeting. The supplemental appropriations bill that was explained earlier, 2023-1980, Roten and Gamble appropriates to certain accounts for the benefit of the Administrative Department, Police Department, Fire Department, Finance Department, Information Technology Services, Parks Department, Nashville Department of Transportation, Department of General Services, Nashville General Hospital, and NDOT surplus parking funds in the amount of $88,908,200. Can I get a motion? Got a motion to defer, properly seconded. Oh, I'm sorry, y'all. We have a typo correction. There's an amendment. Can I get somebody to move the amendment? I'll move the amendment. Properly seconded. All in favor? Any opposed? 14 in favor, 0 against. On the deferral, 1 meeting. All in favor? Any opposed? You defer 1 meeting. 2023-1981 4% bill. Roten appropriates $16,779,600 from the general fund reserve fund for the purchase of equipment and building repairs for various departments of the metropolitan government. Get a motion? Properly seconded. This is 1 meeting for getting a motion for deferral. Properly seconded. All in favor? Any opposed? You defer 1 meeting. Takes care of that. Thank you for everyone in the bag for showing up. I think that takes care of all the budget bills. If you have something else that's on the calendar, you get to stay around. Oh, yeah. Y'all, to get to the 3, 4, 5, and 6, I skipped 1. 2023-1951, Sledge, O'Connell, Parker, and others appropriates $1 million in American Rescue Plan Act funds from Fund 30216 to the Metropolitan government to provide subsidies for electric bicycles. Get a motion? Properly seconded. Councilmember Sledge has a letter here. He was wanting this to be deferred to the first meeting in April. Could I get a motion, please? Properly seconded. All in favor? Any opposed? Apologize. Councilmember Allen, Councilmember Sledge is not in the room.
Here. I just wonder if anybody, I remember there was discussion during the budget process about getting e-bike stations around certain places in his district. Is this related to that? Do we know? No, it's totally
I'm getting
different.
a lot of nods. No, I don't know anything. I apologize. I'm not familiar with this bill. I just know Councilmember Sledge, he wanted to defer to the first meeting in April.
Okay. And is there any objection from the administration to defer until the first meeting of April? So we're cool. Okay.
So we have a motion properly second to defer to the first meeting in April. All in favor? Any opposed? You defer. First meeting in April. Is that what you got next? Yep. Item number 23 on your calendar, 2023-1999, Roten authorizes the Metropolitan Department of Law to settle the claims of Paul Garrett against the Metropolitan government and its employees in the amount of $1,200,000, with said amount to be paid from the Judgments and Losses Fund. I get a motion. Moved, properly seconded. And Councilmember Mendez, you are recognized.
Is this one with the BS conviction?
And I think if we could get somebody to explain this, because it's a large amount of money, and I think people need to know why we're voting on a $1.2 million settlement. So you're recognized.
Councilman Mendez, I actually didn't hear the first part of your question.
Is this the one with the conviction that got
Yes.
that's
This,
vacated?
yes, he spent 10 years in jail and prison, and it turned out that some of the testimony underlying the conviction was false. Our recommendation to you to settle it has to do with the business case. We had a case somewhat similar to this, not involving wrongful conviction, several years ago, where we were paying outside counsel to represent the police officers involved. The total bill for that exceeded $1 million. We're confident that if any claim in this case actually goes to trial, the amount we're going to have to pay for outside counsel for the police officers is going to exceed $1 million. If the claimant is successful on any claim, of course, we'll be paying for his attorney's fees as well and for whatever he's awarded. So that's the basis for the settlement.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I support the resolution. Aside from the business case, since we're the elected body representing the county that apparently participated in not disclosing relevant DNA evidence, and it had to be figured out after the fact, after he'd served so much time in jail, I think it's more than just the business case. It's a moral issue too. So I'm glad that the DA's office is reviewing convictions like this. I'm glad the DA's office has supported vacating the judgment. I'm glad Metro is working it out. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Mendez. Councilmember Suara, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, that was, when I read the fiscal note, that was a little bit troubling for me because my understanding is that, we have a lot of people that were wrongfully convicted and had to spend years in jail. And oftentimes when they are vindicated, it's usually through the use of DNA testing that over the years we now bring the DNA to now say that this is why the person does not need to serve the time. In this particular case, what is bothering is that it says the DNA shows that it was not him or that they could not tie the DNA to him. So how do we explain that? And I'm glad that it's the police department that came back and said the DNA is now somebody else, but that's after 10 years. So what is the procedure for when the DNA does not match, which is the most important evidence? How did we go about convicting somebody? And it may not be the legal department, it might be the police department, but that was just something that I just found very striking in the analysis.
You're recognized.
I'm going to have to defer that to the police department. I believe Commander Gilder might be here, and if not, our Associate Director of Litigation is.
Okay.
Commander, you're recognized.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Chris Gilder, Metro Police Department. I'm actually going to defer to Ms. Bustle at the legal department. She's got all the factual information related to your question. So
there were lots of moving parts with this particular conviction, and it was in some ways a perfect storm. But the DNA evidence in particular, I will say our review of the case files don't indicate that there was a Metro Police error that caused that particular piece of the puzzle. Our records seem to indicate that all of the DNA, because what happens, we'll get DNA reports back from TBI, and our records indicate that those were sent to the district attorney's office. It's not clear if the district, because the police officers have an obligation, a legal obligation to turn the evidence over to the DA. And then what the DA does with it from that point is a DA question. So when the cold case unit went back and looked at this file, it was not a failure to turn over DA evidence to the district attorney that gave them pause. It was more related to the idea that the original arrest warrant said that the individual confessed, and then there was testimony at the preliminary hearing that he confessed, and the evidence just did not support that that happened. So from the perspective of the police department, there was no indication that there was an error in DNA evidence not being turned over to the proper authorities.
Thank you. Councilmember Suara.
Thank you for that, but I do think that wrongful conviction, spending 10 years is not something you joke with, and so I hope that somebody's looking at, whether it's the DA department or something, where the error did occur and how something like that did happen. It just was baffling to somebody like myself that when you have all of that together, that doesn't match, and somebody still get to spend 10 years of their life in jail and all the things that it affects. So I am supporting it because at 1.2 million for 10 years is not, I mean, it's a lot of money for Metro to spend, but considering the life of the person and the impacts, and that big error was the big thing. So I hope somebody's looking at it. That I want to make sure that somebody's looking to make sure that when we have this kind of evidence that exonerates someone, that is not overlooked in the future, and we don't have somebody sitting in jail for something they did not do. I mean, we have to do everything we can to avoid situations like that. So thank you.
And I would also say the police department, when they discovered the discrepancies in connection with this case, reviewed all of their files that any of these individuals had touched to make sure that there was nothing else that needed to be addressed. And as soon as the DNA evidence issue was discovered, our folks in homicide notified the DA's office immediately. So we are thankful that they did right the wrong when they discovered it.
It's worth saying that they did right the wrong, and so I don't want that to be lost in everything that I'm saying too, that we have to thank them for doing that, but it shouldn't have happened in the first place. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Suara. Councilmember Porterfield, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. And Councilwoman Suara got a couple of my points in already. I was a little confused on something that was stated. There was a conflict in testimony and evidence that he confessed, but he didn't confess. So do we know where the breakdown happened and what has been put in place to ensure that this does not happen again moving forward?
You're recognized.
I can answer the first piece. I would certainly defer to Chief Gilder about what the police department has in place today to prevent these types of things from happening. The individual officer, this was a homicide investigation with multiple officers involved. This individual was interrogated on multiple occasions, and most of those interrogations were recorded. All but one of them were recorded. What the individual who was in charge of the investigation said is that in the non-recorded interrogation, that's where the confession occurred. So there was never any audio evidence to support that a confession occurred. But because of that, the homicide unit brought it to the attention of the DA and said, we don't see any indication that there was a confession, and that's where the discrepancy came in. But the officer who led the investigation contended that the confession occurred in a non-recorded conversation.
Councilmember Porterfield.
I was waiting on the second part. What are we doing to make sure that doesn't happen moving forward?
Commander Gilder.
Well, in essence, the concern is that it was false testimony, right? So the police department has a policy in place of honesty and truthfulness. It's a category AA offense, and the only sanction for that is termination. So if we were to find that an employee was untruthful about a matter related to the employment that's material, obviously, it would be a termination offense. Interrogations are recorded, audio and visually recorded. And case files are reviewed by supervisors. So I'd say those are the steps that would prevent something like this from occurring again.
Thank you. So the person who gave the false testimony was terminated from MMPD?
I don't have none of them work here. I believe you actually probably know do you want to speak to when they left?
I don't know when they left, but they've all been gone for quite a while. One of the officers, in fact, the second, it was sort of a two-man team that was leading it. One of those individuals is no longer living. This all occurred a really long time ago, so none of those folks work at MMPD. In fact, by the time the file was reviewed by the homicide unit, Pat Postiglione and Mike Rowland, those individuals didn't work at MMPD anymore. So there was no disciplinary action that could have been taken at that point in time. But even so, they did go back and review all the files that they had touched to ensure that this had not happened to someone else.
Thank you. And my last question is, although they don't, the person that is still living, although they are no longer working for MMPD, was there any indication put in their file so if they try to go to another police precinct that precinct will know that this person did this so that this doesn't happen in another jurisdiction?
Well, certainly this entire homicide cold case investigation, that is certainly police record. So that's available to anyone. This was certainly something that was in the public view and in the public domain because cold case actively advocated for this conviction to be set aside. Now, I would say this individual certainly denies having testified untruthfully, and I think probably would if you asked him. But from the police department's perspective, there was just nothing to support that there was actually a confession, and so they felt like they could not continue to advocate for the conviction staying in place.
Thank you.
This individual certainly is retired and not working anymore.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Thank you, Ms. Bussell. Mr. Yilder. Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? You approve. All right, we're moving on to bills on second reading. We have only one bill on consent on second reading. 2023-1686 authorizes the granting of permanent and temporary construction easements to Piedmont Natural Gas on certain property owned by Metro government. Get a motion. Move properly second. All in favor? Oh, I apologize. Councilmember Allen, this was on consent, but all right, I guess it's not on consent now. She has pulled it off.
I'm sorry, I meant to pull it off consent. I didn't raise my hand fast enough. My apologies. I just wanted to know where this is going to and from. I know that sometimes we end up getting surprised by compressor stations and there's a big uproar and we've okayed everything that made it possible. Can someone just speak to where this line is going from and to?
Is anyone at the administration?
If not, I will catch it in Public Works tomorrow.
I think we might need to wait till tomorrow because
Okay.
Can we go ahead?
That's more of a public works question than budget anyway. So
okay, and if you got an issue tomorrow night when it comes up, we can take it up then. Okay,
Thank you.
You can pull it then. Thanks. All right, all in favor? Any opposed? You approve. All right, back to the bills on second reading. 2022-1630 Swope, Syracuse, Hall, and Rutherford amends Title II of the Metro Code to create the Nashville Film and Television Advisory Board. Can I get a motion? Moved and properly seconded. We have an amendment by Councilmember Swope. Councilmember Swope, do you want to move your amendment? Sorry, Councilmember Swope. Councilmember Swope, you are now recognized. You do want to move your amendment. Is that correct?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I would move the amendment. All it does is it adds 3 words to the last recital in the whereases. It basically says that the board has the ability to operate out of the Chamber, Commerce, the Nashville Convention and Visitors Corporation. I've added the Metro Arts Commission or the mayor's office.
All right, so you've heard what the amendment does. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none. All in favor? Any opposed? The amendment passes. 12 in favor, 0 against. Now we are on the bill. Discussion on the bill. Councilmember Swope, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I feel like this is Groundhog Day. But this is the same 1630 that was deferred a month ago or 2 months ago or 3 months ago. I've actually lost track. It is a 9-member board, very specific to film and television and digital transmedia. It does not include music. It does not include fashion or dance or anything else for that matter. As we have been through this conversation over and over and over again for months on end now, and having served on 6 or 7 of these councils over the last 30 years, I can tell you that the second you start mixing film, television, music, dance, arts, be it basket weaving and everything else, it's doomed to failure. Every single time we've tried this over the last 30 years, it's failed because we've tried to be all-encompassing. Music is an $18 billion industry in this city. I think it's doing just fine. Music venues is, Councilman Syracuse has succinct legislation and a study going on right now about music venues. And I can tell you right now, a film producer and a bar owner have absolutely, completely separate needs and wants. The needs and wants of the film and television community in this city have to do with incentives that are offered by the state. We as a city can't do that. And the state has an interesting F&E program working now that is very complicated. We need a very, very, let's say, focused group of 9 individuals that come out of the business community and the lending community and the distribution and packaging world that music has a completely different relevance to. So if you look at this in comparison to 1631 and or the substituted 1631 or proposed substitute, mine is very focused, succinct, 9 members, film and television only. It has 0 fiscal note. It puts a board together that will give us recommendations on what they want to see in a film office and where that film office needs to live in the future. And I would ask for your support. Thank you.
Seeing no other hands, we're on the bill, on the ordinance. All in favor? Any opposed? You adopt. 12 in favor, 0 against. Bill 2022-1631, Styles, Welsh, Toombs, and Councilmember Toombs, I apologize.
We're not doing extensions on the...
Oh, I apologize. We have 1 abstention, y'all. My apologies. 2, we got 2. Everything, there we go. We're starting to roll them up now. All right, 8 and 0, 4. All right, 2022-1631, Styles, Welsh, Toombs, and Sepulveda amends Title II of the Metro Code to create the Nashville Entertainment Creation Commission. Get a motion? Moved, properly seconded. We have a substitute by Councilmember Porterfield and Allen. Would the sponsor like to speak first before the substitute, or would you like to, are you familiar with the substitute? Councilmember Styles, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Chair. I would like to speak a little bit, and I'm going to yield. I'm going to speak briefly and yield my time to the sponsor of the substitute. It is a friendly substitute. I would encourage everyone to support the substitute. I'm grateful that Councilmember Allen and also Porterfield are sponsoring it. We have talked about this for quite some time. When this legislation was originally presented last year, presented the idea of one commission and having multiple conversations across multiple industries within entertainment. There was a concern that while music has been at the forefront, many of our other industries have been left behind, and that in having one commission, we have an opportunity to know what every industry is doing, support one another, and not step on each other's toes. We have a habit of creating lots of silos. This commission would be the first time that has ever been done where you have multiple industries under one body. And so with that, I would ask for support for the substitute that you're going to be hearing. It does deal with changing the size of the body. and also some language regarding how the commission can be created in terms of requirements. Right now it says that you have to have 5 years of experience, but there is new language in there that does discuss the commission being able to create additional requirements as it sees fit. So I will turn my time over to Councilmember Allen. Thank you so much, Chair.
Councilmember Allen and Councilmember Porterfield, you're both going to be recognized, I guess. But Councilmember Allen, since you were on the committee, I will let you go first. Councilmember Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate that.
We need to move the substitute.
Move the substitute?
Properly seconded. You're on the substitute.
Thank you. On the substitute. In general, I want to say I fully believe that both of the sponsors just want to help the industry and the creatives in Nashville, and I respect how hard they have all worked to make that happen. And I think that there's more overlap than there is difference, and I think I speak for many of us on the council who just don't know very much about this industry and have looked to the experts to sort of help us figure out what the needs are. I've been to most of the meetings. I have read many of these emails. I have called people in the music business. And what I've heard is, yes, film and TV absolutely wants to access those F&E incentives that we hear about, and they need a staff person that knows exactly how to do that. I also hear that the music people want to make sure that they get represented and that the local music people are used, and not just people just go to the easiest big label that they do, which is often what happens. So I hear the music people saying we need to be included in this process as well. And for that reason, I hope to goodness we pass something. I have been spending my time trying to figure out where the compromise is. I appreciate Councilmember Hurt holding the Arts Committee meetings as a work session so that we could try to maybe within that format come to a compromise. We had some good discussion, didn't quite get there, so we're continuing. I believe with this substitute that we can come very close to that we can create what is needed for the film and TV, but also benefit from the strength and numbers of both of those, and also ensure that when the film discussion is happening, that the musicians are at the table for that as well. So with that, I would just say very quickly that what the substitute does is just a couple of things. The major differences between these two, is it a board, is it a commission, that I'm not sure what on Google. If you Google the difference between those, it doesn't there's not much of a definition there. So that's one difference. Second is the difference in size. The first proposed one is 9, this one has 19. The substitute would lower that down to 15 just to make sure that it's a reasonable number, and then adjust who those are adopted. But both of these all draw from the same unions and require people to be experts in their field so that they can contribute to that. And secondly, it gives more flexibility on the meeting schedule than is in the original bill, and it reduces the number of subcommittees so that it is focused on film and TV, on music preservation, and on diversity and equity, and on providing quality of life for musicians, which is what I have heard in the meetings that I have attended, which I appreciate the many opportunities that have been provided for us to listen. I created this chart because that's how I think my way through things, and it's color-coded because that's helped me figure things out. And the yellow shows where the differences are, but the green on the far right column shows what the stakeholders were saying in those meetings. And they were basically saying, we need a one-stop shop where people can come, that we're trying to promote our film and TV industries and our music industries too, and those people can find out how to do permitting, how to find the local people that are gonna be the staff, how to find the locations, and we just need one place to go to, and we need it yesterday. And so I believe that with the substitute being added to this bill, we have an office in place that this bill references that is funded already for this year, and this commission, if we can create it quickly, will then determine who that executive director is going, and we can provide what the stakeholders have been begging for. So I appreciate all the work that everyone has done on this. I hope to goodness we can get to some solution. And I believe that this substitute offers the compromise that we've all been looking for, and I hope that y'all will support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Allen. Councilmember Porterfield, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I will be brief. Thank you. I want to echo some of what Councilmember Allen just said. Thank you to Councilwoman Stiles for all of her work on this. Councilmember Syracuse and Swope for their work on this, Councilwoman Allen for her work on this. A couple of other things to highlight is that this is a true compromise, and it does lean toward what the majority of the stakeholders stated that they wanted. There's a lot of overlap between the two pieces of legislation. Both ordinances adopt definitions that refer to commercial activity that involves the production and sale of entertainment. They both include film, television, digital streaming content, virtual reality within their definitions. The substitute includes all of that, as well as Councilmember Stiles adds music-oriented roles. Councilmember Swope emphasis on film and television roles. Both of the ordinances include occupations within the industry of actor, film, television, studio executives, screenwriters, directors, casting agents, film and television producers, crew members, editors, stagehands. The list goes on. I won't bore you all with continuing to read from that. The one thing about the size going from the difference between the 9 and the 19 and landing on the 15, there was a slim majority of stakeholders that suggested a 15 to 20 member body. So going with that 15, it was a compromise between the two, but it still favors what the majority of the stakeholders stated that they wanted. Both ordinances provided appointments from the mayor, the council, and council nominations from the industry at large. The International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, Screen Actors Guild, the American Federation of Musicians. They both have similar requirements. So again, I could go on and on, y'all, but this is a true compromise, trying to find some middle ground between the two legislations to best move forward with this, and we just ask that you all please support this. And again, thank you for all of the sponsors that worked so hard on this. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Porterfield. Councilmember Hurt, you are recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I have a couple of questions. Where is this particular body going to reside? Is it going to be in the mayor's office, or exactly where it's going to reside? Because personally, I would like to see it in arts, and just wanting to know where it's going to reside.
Mr. Jamison, I saw you over there asking for the question, so you're going to get to respond to it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Councilmember Hurt. So the stakeholders meeting had suggested that it reside in the mayor's office, but there were two very significant considerations, because Councilmember Swope is absolutely correct that previous iterations run through the mayor's office have tended to live or die with the administrations. And so when the administration changes, sometimes it died. So, but the stakeholders were also interested in having, for whatever it's worth, when this entity would reach out to out-of-state entities or other cities, if they said, I'm with the such and such committee, that was one thing. But if they were able to say, I'm with the mayor's office of, added a little cachet that they wanted to take advantage of. So the compromise reached here, as endorsed by the stakeholders, was house it in the mayor's office, but the executive director must always be selected by the committee members, the commission members. So it persists across administrations, but still has mayor's office in the title, so they can grab what other cachet the stakeholders thought that name would mean. So that was the dividing line between the two. That was the approach. Again, whenever there was a difference between the two, we just tended to lean with whatever the majority of stakeholders wanted, and they endorsed that approach.
My second question is, there's going to be an executive director. Is there a salary already determined, or the funding, where the funding is going to come from to support it?
No, that would be up into the next, if this were, or some version of this to be approved, that would be up to the next operating budget. Also, one last response back to the Arts Commission suggestion. In terms of determining a compromise between the various sponsors, that was one issue in which they were both in agreement and opposition to the Arts Commission. We understand the attraction, and I had a very good discussion with the arts director, and essentially the proposal was, we are so close, these bills are so extremely close, and we're down to almost cosmetic differences. could we take that up in a subsequent ordinance? Please let us just get one or either version or substitute version of this passed, then bring a subsequent ordinance a month from now, 2 months from now, whatever your preferred timing is, and whether or not this should be housed under the Arts Commission. And so that was the reason for that approach.
Well, yes, I mean, I've attended most of the meetings as well, and I was hoping that we would come to some consensus because they are very closely related. And I wanted to see it because, you know, I know the Arts Commission, now that we have a good leader in the Arts Commission, not saying that we didn't have one before, but I know, having spoken to him, how this could, I feel confident that they could handle it and keep it away from having to go back and forth from the administrations that come in. But in the other, I don't think that there's going to be a financial commitment that has to be met. And I'm wondering also if the Arts Commission could fund the executive director's position. Does anybody know that? Is anyone here from the Arts Commission?
Someone from the Arts Commission is here, and if they have raised their hand, that means you get to come to the mic, and you are the one. Introduce yourself, please, and tell us who you are.
Jonathan Sad, I'm Grants Manager with Metro Arts Commission.
Councilmember Hurt, would you like to?
Yeah, I was just asking if the position of executive director in this grant, would the Arts Commission be able to fund the position?
There's no additional funding within our budget right now for this position. It would have to come from the council to appropriate more funding from the mayor's office.
I mean, we'll be getting a budget soon, so I guess we'll know if it's in there, and if it's not, then we can have a discussion.
Right. I just really wanted to see a consensus and wanted to see the council members work together. I just hate to see that there, you know, resistance on each, and I don't want it to be political, but, you know, doing things that's going to be in the best interest of the industry itself. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hurt. Vice Chair Gamble, you recognize.
Thank you, Chair. And Councilmember Hurt kind of touched on my questions with the location of the commission, and also the $100,000 in the budget. If that's not for salaries, can someone explain what that $100,000 would be directed towards?
Your substitute? Or Councilmember Stiles, do you know the answer to that? Everybody's holding up hands. I don't know who's who.
Thank you, Chair. Councilmember Gamble. So the $100,000 that was set aside last year was to get the office started, right, just to create it. But for us to have a deeper conversation about the creation of the office and who's going to be in it and what that's going to entail is part of the conversation that's going to take place going into the budget. So we can ascertain exactly what the needs are, how many people are going to be there. And so your question is coming.
Okay, but this $100,000 that's in the bill currently is for the startup costs to start the commission.
Right.
Okay. And I just want to thank Councilmember Allen for putting together this bill comparison chart. It's very helpful, and I appreciate you doing that. One thing that struck me in the difference in the two bills is that this second bill, 1631, is more inclusive of all of the entertainment industries, which I think is important. So I just wanted to bring out that point as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Gamble. Councilmember Virtue, you recognize.
Thank you, Chair. Appreciate all the sponsors, their work on this. I'll just be brief. We already have entities in the city that's working in this space. Before we go creating another entity, if we could just charge them to expanding roles, duties, responsibilities, collaboration with what these two bills with the additional substitute. So we got three competing bills essentially if the substitute doesn't get on to 1631. Also, it was mentioned too that Councilman Syracuse is doing a study in that music space, and I know colleagues really hold him really as an expert in that space. He's led the charge on various small business initiatives for our musicians here in the city, and always just been really cognizant to workers and creatives actually in that space. And I don't know why we're not taking the same approach as it relates to this sector of the industry as well too. I mean, because really, without really evaluating it, and community meetings are really great, but really without evaluating it and really assessing what we already have in the toolbox, none of this may not even be the correct structure. So for me, it creates pause for me because I'm not in that space. And Councilwoman Allen's chart is good, it's color coded, but it doesn't give me those technical details that I need to be able to make a sound decision, especially for something that may have a potential budgetary impact. It's really uncommon for us to just plug things and really consider things into the budget without actually having some type of official study by this body. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Vercher. And now, Councilmember Syracuse, Councilmember Stiles, you're next.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate the comments from Councilmember Vercher a great deal. I couldn't agree more. I think that is a major reason why Councilmember Swope had an amendment to also include the potential of putting this initiative into the Arts Department of Metro Office of Arts and Culture. I do think there's a lot of duplicative aspects to this piece of legislation. The everything but the kitchen sink approach, I'll just reiterate what Councilmember Swope said, is absolutely correct. We have to learn from our past efforts. Question, since we're in the Budget and Finance Committee, I'm going to try to keep my comments limited to that, and I'll speak broader tomorrow night on the floor. Ms. Darby, what is the fiscal note to this bill?
Oh, geez. I have a fiscal.
Councilmember Darby, you're recognized.
Don't
Did I
think
call you,
that we have.
Sorry, I called you Councilmember. I'm sorry. Director Darby.
Not a council member.
You don't want to be.
Have a fiscal note. Give me 1 second. Certainly don't have one for a substitute, but no fiscal note.
So I guess right now there's no money backing what we're passing, so.
Yeah.
I think analysis is incomplete. This is a huge lift. This is going to take a lot of staff. I know we have $100,000 currently allocated to the mayor's office for that position in the mayor's office, but nothing to this. I fundamentally, even if I hadn't spent 25 years in this business, vote for this being a part of this committee because it doesn't have a fiscal note. There's got to be a baseline fiscal note of what a new border commission creation would create. I do appreciate, so it would be nice if by tomorrow we could have some level of understanding, to Councilmember Vercher's point, what we are voting on here from a fiscal perspective. I do appreciate Councilmember Allen's efforts here to try to bring some compromise. I am fundamentally, again, I'm going to just be constant as a Northern Star here. I am fundamentally opposed to this approach. A, we have tried it before a few different times in a few different ways. It didn't work. B, the music industry did not ask for this. The super majority of people that we have heard from were from the film and TV world. Where there's synergy with music is when it comes to film scoring. Those projects do get lumped into film projects, that's film scoring, but it's nothing to do with recording, publishing, any of those kinds of things. I caution everybody to put forward a proposal that has not been asked for by the industry that brands this city. I will save the rest of my comments for tomorrow on the floor for everybody, but this is, while I appreciate all the efforts, I respectfully, fundamentally disagree with this approach. I could go on about the work that is being done right now by Penn Praxis, who is the one that won the bid for studying venues and whatnot. I will go into that in more detail tomorrow night. But just the fact that this doesn't have a fiscal note attached to it, when the $100,000 we put in the budget last year is allocated to the mayor's office for that director level position, this doesn't have any fiscal note at all. So I would appreciate something on that note. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Syracuse. And I think we all need to realize we're on Budget and Finance Committee, and that's why we're here. So we need to make sure anything we're passing or moving along, that it's either going to be funded or we're looking at funding it. And right now, I don't know where we are on that. So, Councilmember Stiles, you're recognized.
Thank you again, Chair. I think it's important to recognize that in all the conversations that we've had, it has been multiple industries. It has not been just music. It has not just been film. We have received messaging from constituents across the board in many industries. And I think creating an additional silo doesn't serve the needs for the people that are currently working in these fields right now. They've expressed that publicly through email. If I may address Councilmember Archer and her statement of there are entities that are currently doing this work, there are not. That is the reason why we are presenting the creation of a commission that will do something that is not being done. We have entities that are working in silos, but not collectively. And this commission gives us that opportunity. And again, I do appreciate Councilmember Allen for taking the time to find some common ground so we can move this forward. Again, we've heard people want one commission. This is how we can be fair across the board. And I would encourage people to vote in favor.
Hands flying. Councilmember Toombs, since you have not spoke yet, I will let you speak before the vice chair as long as she doesn't hold it against me. Councilmember Toombs, you're recognized.
Chair, if we're not voting on the spending of any funds, how is this in budget?
That is a good question. Director Darby, you are recognized.
Well, I think to some extent there is going to be an expenditure of funds. We had the $100,000 that was appropriated in the budget most recently for the creation of a position in the mayor's office. The fact that there's not a fiscal note on it, it kind of is indicative of the fact that there is no direct demand that it have an expenditure of funds, but there is going to be some sort of budgetary impact at some point.
So the $100,000, we already appropriated that, correct?
Yes.
In the previous budget. Okay, so I think that's off the table since we've already appropriated it. I think that from a budget committee perspective, like I don't think we can have a speculative number. Well, we don't have any number. I don't think we can speculate that it will cost something at some point in time. Like there needs to be an actual dollar figure that we're considering.
Yeah. I mean, I also think that it's on this agenda because it's come before the budget committee in the past. The last iterations of these bills were before the budget committee as well.
So we typically don't vote on things that we think may cost money in committee. So if there's no actual dollar amount, is this something we can vote on as committee? I guess we could, but
it's been referred to the committee, so the committee.
I guess we can. I mean, my opinion is we can recommend whatever we want to recommend. Whether you want to recommend it like it is with no funding behind it, I guess that's a question for you as a council member.
Okay, Chair.
Councilmember Gamble, Councilmember Syracuse, I'll come to you next.
Thank you, Chair. My question kind of goes along the line of Councilmember Toombs. Not having a fiscal note for either bill, and I don't know if it's something that the sponsor would like to entertain, but would there be time with the deferral to get some more fiscal note or budgetary information on what it would cost to start this commission? And I would really ask that for both bills.
Director Darby, you are recognized.
Yeah, I am literally in the middle of writing an email to ask for more information. I think a great question was asked just a second ago about do we have kind of a baseline idea of what it costs to create a new commission, whether we can go back and look at, prior commission board creations and what those cost to kind of give us that baseline number. I'm in the middle of asking that question to the administration as we speak.
Would a deferral of 2 meetings be enough time to gather that?
It would definitely be enough time for me to ask the question. I would defer to the administration about whether it'd be enough time to answer the question.
I'm getting a thumbs up from Mr. Jameson, so I'm assuming he means that he could get an answer in 2 meetings. Are you asking for a 2-meeting?
I am asking for a 2-meeting deferral.
We have a motion properly seconded. Anybody on the deferral? All in favor? Any opposed? You defer 2 meetings. Oh, any abstentions? I'm sorry. On the deferral? No. 8 in favor, 0 against. (2023-1683) Roten Syracuse Hurt and Welsh approves an amendment to a lease agreement between Metro Government and Mary Medical College relating to the land and improvements used in the operation of Nashville General Hospital. The motion properly seconded. Seeing no hands. All in favor? Any opposed? Do you approve? 8 in favor, 0 against. 2023-1684, Taylor, Roten, Withers, and Hurd authorizes the Metro Department of Parks and Recreation to swap 3140 Parthenon Avenue and a portion of 3138 Parthenon Avenue for 3136 Parthenon Avenue to allow for a future expansion of the Centennial Dog Park. Could I get a motion? Moved, properly seconded. I have a question because there's an amendment by Councilmember Taylor. He is not here. I do not want to speak for him on this amendment, so I'm going to ask Director Darby if she can explain what this is and if it's just something technical or if it's something that we actually need him here to talk about. So, Councilmember Darby.
I can explain the amendment really quickly, and I'll ask Mr. Wilkinson to step in if I say anything incorrectly, but the amendment is to the SP to get rid of, or is to the legislation to get rid of a street and to regrade back to its natural elevation, that street. It was approved in planning and zoning earlier.
And I, as chair, must recognize that we do not have a quorum.
Did we just lose one?
Yes, Councilmember Hurd walked out of the room.
She just needs to come back for the vote. She just needs to come back.
Yeah. Is there anybody else that wants to discuss? Oh, sorry, Matthew.
I just want to clarify that these changes were requested by the Parks Department and agreed by the applicant at the community meeting we had back in December. Additionally, it's not a street. It's not even an alleyway. It's just like a paved drive that was put in 60-some years ago into the park that Parks doesn't want, and they would just want it ripped down and put grass in. And so that's really all it does, is just add those extra things that Parks wanted.
Councilmember Allen, I'm sorry, I didn't see you.
Yeah.
Councilmember Allen.
I'll take advantage of the time to just make a statement. I spoke in concern, I won't say opposition, to the related rezoning that's connected to this land swap, only because this is not consistent with the Centennial Park Master Plan. It's a compromise that Parks supports, and I understand that because there's 5 pieces of property that should become part of the dog park on Flagpole Hill, and we just don't have enough money to buy them all. And so this is Budget Committee. I want to make the statement that if we want to implement the master plans that we work so hard to create, we need to work a little bit harder, I think, to have a strike fund ready for Parks to support this, because this is at least the second time that I've been on the council that we've lost the opportunity to expand a park in a way that we planned to because we couldn't afford to buy land when it became available. So I just throw that out there as we create our capital spending plan that we made we may want to be more thoughtful about what we hold back for parks, because they need this to implement the master plan.
And I was going to ask, but I see Parks is here, but I'll wait tomorrow. I might step into Parks and see if I can ask. It's just so you know, as you're sitting in the back, Miss Cindy, I might just ask a question about, that's an awful large dog park, and are we just getting more land? Can you shake your head up and down? Is that what we're doing? Or no? Okay, we can talk tomorrow in Parks about it, so I was just curious about that. So we have an amendment by Councilmember Taylor. Councilmember Hurt, would you move the amendment? You're on it as well. No, you're not on the amendment. Councilmember Taylor's the only one that's on the amendment, so, okay. Moved, properly seconded, all in favor? Yeah, we do, she came back in. Oh. We had somebody just walk out, so we don't have a quorum again, so here we sit. So, Councilmember Evans, she's on the committee. We've only got 7. We got to have 8. We got 16 members, but, so we're going to sit here, I guess, until she comes back. Now, we got you. Councilmember Evans left out of the room, so she's got to come back, so we'll have 8. Brett's up here too. He's awake, so that's good. We've only got 2 left, y'all. We can do it. I know we can. Well, I'm just trying to get through the bills, and then we'll.
Mountain time.
Councilmember Evans, did you know we were waiting on you for our quorum? I'm just messing. All right, so we had a motion on the amendment, properly seconded. All in favor? You approve. 8 in favor, 0 against. We are back on the bill. Properly moved and properly seconded. All in favor? Any opposed? 8 in favor, 0 against. Last item, 2023-1686 Toombs, Gambles, Roten, and others authorize the granting of permanent and temporary. I think we've already done that one. Sorry, y'all. That was it. My apologies. We are adjourned for 5 minutes.